I'm Annie, also known as Princess of Reinvention, and I am a recovered food addict and binge eater. I would say I'm in recovery because I don't think anyone can ever truly be healed. Everyone has food issues, but I have developed coping mechanisms to mean that I am now able to coach other women in how to overcome their binge eating. This video is going to be about trauma and grief when it comes to binge eating and how to deal with grief when someone has passed away and you turn to binge eating. My sister passed away nearly 3 years ago now, so October 2022, and I'd always suffered growing up with food issues. I'd had anorexia, bulimia, and we'll deep dive into these and how I managed to overcome those in a separate video, but I never let these eating disorders define me. However, unexpectedly, they controlled my life. They literally became part of my everyday life. It was isolating, it was heavy on my head, and I felt the only way to overcome this was finally eating again. And when my sister died that same day, because her body had suffered so much, I thought to myself, do you know what? I do not want to put myself through hurting my own body when I have a choice not to do this. You know, her cancer was being so aggressive to her body and she had no control over that, whereas I was being so aggressive to my body and I had control over that. So I finally regained control on that same day, and I was like, right, okay, no more bulimia, no more anorexia. I deserve health. I deserve to be strong. I deserve to put myself first, and I deserve to heal. I deserve to overcome this pain. I deserve to overcome these trials and tribulations when it comes to food. And the only way that I was able to overcome these issues was by eating. And from the day that she passed away, 9 months later, I ended up gaining 3.5 stone in that time. That is a lot of weight to gain in a short space of time, okay? And that is subjective because everyone thinks weight gain and weight loss is in their own eyes, whatever they believe. However, in my eyes, that was a lot of weight to gain. So I was stuck in this body at the end of it thinking, what on earth have I done? I remember thinking at the end of 2023, so a year after she died, I'm in this body and I don't feel like me. I don't look in the mirror and I don't feel like me. However, I have now tried every single combination on the menu. I'd tried every single food that I could find. I'd gone to 10 different locations in the world and tried all the cuisines. I'd been to Mykonos, I'd been to New York, I'd been to Dubai, I'd been everywhere, and I tried all this food, and I was like, right, okay. Now it's time to regain control of my life in a healthy and positive way. One thing I will say is, when you have lost someone and you are grieving, everyone's grief manifests in different ways. Not everyone is going to turn to binge eating. Not everyone is going to have unhealed food issues from their childhood that then projects themselves once you've lost someone. Some people don't eat. Some people turn to drugs. Some people turn to exercise. Everyone has their own vice. But there is an unspoken community on YouTube, on the social media, of people that turn to food. And food was my comfort. Let's just deep dive into that. Why did I gain 3.5 stone after my sister died? Well, firstly, I didn't want to have anorexia and bulimia anymore. And secondly, I deserved to grieve in a way that I wanted to grieve. Even if that meant I gained weight, food for me was my comfort. Food for me was my peace. Food doesn't answer back. Food doesn't give you advice. Food doesn't argue with you or bicker with you. Food is a comfort that can only be described as a soulmate and best friend when you need it. Because when I was so miserable and so depressed because she'd died, even my partner couldn't help me, my mum couldn't help me, my sister couldn't help me, my other sister, my dad couldn't help me, my friends couldn't help me. But what I wanted to do was lock myself in a room and eat really nice food. And that might sound really crazy to some people, but when you're grieving, you find ways to cope. And I still had a job I had to hold down. I had a mortgage, I had relationships, I had my partner that was relatively new at the time. You know, there's all these things I had to do to survive. And in order to keep my emotions at bay, I ate. So there's nothing wrong with that. There is nothing wrong with gaining weight after grief. If you need to eat while you're grieving to stay alive, to stay sane like I did, that doesn't make you crazy. That doesn't make you fat, obese, nasty, ugly, gross. None of those things. You are trying to survive and that is your coping mechanism. But it got to the point where I didn't recognize myself in the mirror. And I thought, well, I've done a year of this now. I wouldn't say I'm ever going to be healed from my sister's death, but I would say that because I tried the whole menu, I was like, right, okay, I've gotten over my grief to an extent where now I can take control of my own life again. And that's when I really sat down and I thought, right, okay, I want to lose this weight. What can I do that's going to help me lose weight? The first thing I did was in September 2023 was I at least tried. Nothing was working, okay? In my head, I was trying everything. I wasn't counting calories and I wasn't wearing a stopwatch, my Apple Watch. But what I was doing was I was eating mindfully. I was like, right, okay, I'll get the salad. I won't get chips and I'll get sweet potato fries. And in my head, I was doing everything I could. And I remember going to Amsterdam with my partner and I remember thinking, right, okay, I won't have hot chocolate in every cafe. I'll just have a latte. It was the same calories. Oh my God. And I didn't realize this. Do you know what I mean? At the time, you know, even though I've been on my fitness since 2018, grief rewires your brain. Like, you forget things. You forget in the moment. You're like, I know how to lose weight. And then suddenly you lose all that information and you go back to square one and you're like, what do I do? So I thought, I'm just gonna have to strip it back down to basics. And I think I was putting this off for ages because I was grieving and I was like, do you know what? I just know how to do it. I know how to do it, but I didn't. So I stripped it back down to basics, and from January the 2nd, I think it was, because it fell on a Monday, I started doing 10,000 steps a day without fail. I was using my Apple Watch every single day, and then I still do it now. I've just taken it off of the video, and I started counting my calories, and let me tell you, it was actually so healing and cathartic because I'd given myself basically a year off anything fitness related. No gym, no tracking calories, nothing like that. And I was like, do you know what? I can really do this. So I started doing 10,000 steps a day, tracking my calories, and I signed up with my beautiful, amazing personal trainer called Anie, and I did 2 sessions a week. And I kept this up, and the weight was coming off, guys. The hardest part is staying dedicated, but again, I was desperate. By this point, I didn't look like what I saw in the mirror. I was miserable. I was a size that I've never been before. You know, I was just like, I need to get this off right now. And I honoured my sister while doing this. My sister would have wanted this for me, okay? She would have wanted me to heal naturally. She would not have wanted me to do any stupid BS diet. She wouldn't wanted me to starve. She wouldn't have wanted me to have bulimia. She would have wanted me to heal my relationship with food naturally. And that is what I did. And let me tell you, it was hard work, guys. It was really hard. Even though my grief had become easy to manage, it was still incredibly hard, guys. It's not easy to do 10,000 steps a day and count your calories every day. And even though now I'm a one-to-one fat loss coach who encourages women and supports women, who has amazing results working with women of their weight loss, I still know it's hard. It's hard for them because it was hard for me, guys. But I remember thinking, it's for my sister, it's for me, it's for my husband, it's for my family, like I need to do this. And long story short, after 7 months, I lost the weight. I lost the 3.5 stone, and it was freeing. You know, I was back down like what I am now, you know, happy in my weight, happy with my food. And one amazing thing that I was able to grow from was the fact that the year before I'd eaten everything I wanted to eat. And it really made the weight loss and the maintenance of it now a year later so much easier because I was able to see food as not that special. You know, food is fuel. And I think when you go through grief, it's not fuel. Grieving doesn't care if you're moving your body or not. You're going to grieve regardless. And you're going to be sad regardless because you're grieving. And I think the more you torture yourself while you're grieving and stop yourself from doing what your body naturally wants to do, in my case, eat, it's actually counterproductive because I would never have healed from my eating disorders had I not had that year to myself. And now when I take girls on to coach, I always make sure they're in a position where they're not going through an immediate death or they're not going through a breakup right there and then, because you need time to heal. You know, I think maybe if you need from a breakup and it was a short relationship, maybe you need a couple of weeks, that's fine. But from something like your sister dying, you're not going to be on a diet the next week or the next day. Like, it's not going to happen. Even the next month or 6 months after. It's not as simple as that. And I think this video really is about my journey, but it's also about helping you understand that food is not the enemy. Healing from trauma and grief after binge eating and getting on the right track is worth it. Recovery is worth it, 1000%. But there is no rush to get to that point. It's when you are ready. You know, I was ready. No one told me you need to go and lose weight now. I did have health conditions, but my family and doctors were like, look, if you want to continue eating and get bigger and bigger, obviously we don't want you to, but you do what you need to do. And I remember thinking, no, this isn't what I want. So I think if you are going through that or something similar and you've lost someone, try not be too hard on yourself, because I wasn't. I wasn't hard on myself at all. I ate the full fridge and it was healing. It helped me. But the minute I decided enough was enough, that also healed me. Because now I'm in my dream body. Now I'm living my dream life. Now I'm healed from restriction and overeating and binge eating. And it is freeing to recover from it. You know, binge eating forever is something that I didn't want to do. And it was freeing to overcome that. So that is my testament to you and how I overcame grief and trauma and binge eating. If you want me to deep dive into anything in particular, comment and let me know and I will explain it in more detail. But that is an overview as to, you know, how I gained the weight and how I was able to overcome grief and binge eating. And remember guys, I'm not a doctor, I am not a GP. If you are seriously struggling with anything, please use the contact details below for Samaritans, because they can seriously help you. And also, if you are struggling, find a charity that can really relate to you. I have so many charities that I can recommend. If you would like any advice on that, please do feel free to message me on any of my socials. Thank you.